Ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-doo. Hello, everybody. Welcome to King Shit Talk. I am your host, Salid. This is my co-host, Mr. Kevin Edwins. Evans, my bad, Kev. How you doing tonight, man, on this smooth Saturday?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Oh
hear you,
yeah.
brother.
What's up, man?
Ain't nothing. Normally on smooth Saturdays, we laid back or we hyped up with music or we just, cracking jokes and stuff like that. But we not gonna get too deep
Mm,
tonight. But I saw something in the news that made kind of want to talk about something in particular tonight. I don't know if you know it, but there was a video that I saw with these young guys. I think they went a Gucci store,
hmm.
but they were stealing a whole bunch of Gucci stuff and just running out of the store. Did you see that this week?
Actually, I ain't seen that one. I can believe it,
Man,
but
them
I ain't,
jokers
I,
was
I ain't see
taking
that one.
they were taking bags, belts, socks, everything. Just grabbing it and running. And they all looked like they were about uh the youngest I could say looked like they were about 15, between 15 and 18 years old.
Right.
So I titled tonight "Listen, Young Man" for the purpose of you and I have been through a lot of things in life, from the 15-year-old age bracket up until present day. And people are
Right.
always saying, "What would you tell your 18-year-old self if you could go back?" Well, we all know we can't do that, but what we can do is try to tell some of these young men in particular some of the pitfalls, some of the roadblocks, some of the situations that we've been through. So hopefully, if they're going through it, they can get through it. And if they haven't already seen some of this stuff, they'll be better prepared when they do get to it. So for all the single mothers that have sons, for all the fathers that are raising sons, this would be good for you to let them listen to, let them watch it after the fact, and hopefully they can get something from it. And we can try to, put a little bit of knowledge out there so they can kind of grasp onto it. And Kev, you do this pretty much now, do you not?
Oh yeah. Most definitely. I work at a high school, so it's a junior senior high school. So the kids I work with are from about 12 to 18. So yeah, I see it. I work with these kids every day, all day.
Now, do you remember where you were in life at about the age of 16 and 17? What do you have going on in your life around the ages of 16 and 17?
I had a pretty decent upbringing, man. So my mind was kind of I was kind of scared of the law, and even more so than the law, I was scared of my mama. So, I wasn't robbing out the Gucci store. All I really want to do was play basketball, kick it with my friends, and just, talk to girls and that type of stuff. So, yeah, that's where I was. You know what I'm saying? At 16, I think I got a car when I was 15. So and I was the first one in my little clique with a car. So I was driving my homies around, what I'm saying, make sure we didn't have to catch the bus to school. We tried to be the flyers, that's what we worried about, try to be fly, talk to girls in school and all that. But, all that, what these kids going through, or what some kids, I feel like the most misguided kids are going through. I wasn't going through that, man. So, I'll be trying to deter them from that, let them know they ain't got to be that way. But I think it's all about what you see in your household.
Oh yeah, the majority of it is what's seen, whether you're seeing it in the home or outside of the home, or sometimes what the pictures that we paint for ourselves, depending on
Oh
what
yeah.
we have going on in life. I know when I was around age 16, 17, that's when my dad had got locked up. So the
Mm,
man of the house was not in the house anymore. So
right.
all of the thoughts I had went straight to survival,
Mm,
trying to do things just to survive because it's great to have both parents in the home when you coming up, But what I
Mm-hmm.
found is if you have both parents in the home, but there is no line of communication with them saying, "Hey, this is how life goes. This is what you need to be prepared for. This is what you need to do." If that's not in place, then if something happens, you know what I mean, you left out there to learn some stuff on your own. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think a lot of these you even when they have the parents in the home, a lot of them letting the switch off when they go outside. It's like
Oh
once they get around their
yeah.
friends and once they get around other people in that age range, some of them are
Mhm.
cutting off what they're learning at home.
Yeah.
And some of those
Because
pitfalls, I think one of the go ahead.
no, I think I got a little lag when I talk or whatever. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was gonna say because it's hard
You
as
good.
heck to outraise to out to outrage society with your kids. You know, society is, I mean, it's popular to go out there and see what's going on, and the kid want to follow that other than following what dad says or follow what granddad and mom and dad says. So you got to fight hard against that. You know, it's kind of hard to convince your kid, listen, you know, don't follow the crowd, do this instead. They like, nah, but following the crowd, you know, I can be popular out there. I can do this because they doing it, and I can be popular like the boys. So you gotta work hard against it, man. So yeah, I think that's the reason why you might be getting taught one thing at home and you rebel against that because it ain't cool doing what my parents say. It's cool doing what the cool kids doing. So I think that's the reason why.
Yeah, and I think one of the main things I know that I tell my sons and that a lot of these youth need to try to get through their heads too is that everybody is not your friend. There
Oh
are
yeah,
people that kind of follow you and hang on to you just to see what you're going to get into or what benefit you can have for them. Because I remember at
right.
that age, my circle literally was me and two other guys. Those guys, shoot, at that time, I'd already known him 10 years, and we're
Mm.
still best friends to this day. But I'm seeing a lot of these young guys where it doesn't take much for them to let others in their world now. It's like, oh, we
Oh
like the
yeah,
same video game, cool, come over to my
yeah,
house. Oh,
yeah.
we
We can
like
be
the same
brothers.
music, cool. I can tell you, what I have going on, what I'm seeing in and all that. So, I mean, what
Mhm.
did you ever deal with any situations or see anything to where you were like, okay, I thought something was one way, but it's not really that way?
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. You see stuff out there and you like, this is cool. Like I'm gonna be cool with. I mean, I always had in the back of my mind getting in trouble. Like, man, listen, I can't. Even though I kind of want to do it or seem cool by doing what everybody else doing, well, I know I'm gonna get in trouble when I get to the house. So I always kind of battled against that, and I let getting in trouble win. I was like, nah, I can't get in trouble, so I can't do it, regardless of how lame how lame I look. Like I can't get in trouble at the house. But yeah, like you might feel like it's somebody that you look up to or whatever, whether they're doing the right or wrong thing. That's what you want to do. So yeah, definitely. I'm peer pressure. You know, that's what you can sum
Yeah.
it up to. That's the definition of that. Just straight peer pressure. And a lot of these kids, if you ask, I ask kids now, do you think you suffer from peer pressure or struggle with peer pressure? They're like, nah, I do me. You know, like nah, like most of the time they lying. You do deal with a lot of peer pressure, even as adults. You struggle
Yep.
with peer pressure, but that's what it was, man.
Hmm.
You don't want to seem lame. You want to seem like a
Man,
cool
I've
kid too.
seen.
So
Hmm. And in the process of trying to seem like that cool kid, man, I've seen dudes with a group of other guys, and I thought they were, tight. I'm like, oh yeah, them jokers are always together, blah blah blah. And you see one of them get in trouble, whether it's getting jumped, whether it's police interactions, and all of those people that you thought were real cool with them, and they were like
hmm
quote unquote brothers. Those I've seen dudes stand by and watch
oh
they
yeah,
homeboys get smashed up by other guys and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And that's why I try to tell, be your own man.
Yeah.
Understand who you are, understand what you have to offer to the world. If there are people that can assist you or have your best interest at heart, that's fine. But do not think that everyone is going to be down for you when something happens. Because man, we hear about it all the time, situations where um people tell on the other person or lie on the other person. And I tell my
Mhm.
son, if anything, look at look at your
Mhm.
immediate family like your lifeline. You know, protect your I tell my younger son this all the time, protect your sister.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's almost sad that we're in a time now where we have these young men and we have to overly groom them for manhood while they're still in the child stage. But that's the way it
Mhm.
has to be because they have to know. They have to know. And it's evident that either a lot of them aren't knowing or they just aren't putting it into practice what they're being taught. And so I tell him, man, you gotta be your siblings' best friend. And I know that's not, realistic, but I just go back to when I was growing up, my brother and sisters were all, I had. We played
Right.
together all the time. We went to school together, we were in the house together. And I come from a family where we didn't really get to go to friends' houses and stuff a lot. So that
Mhm.
made that sibling bond even tighter. Whereas it's so different now. With a lot of these youth now, they have so many ways they can go. They don't really have to be up under their siblings like that.
Right. Yeah. And I got this little thing I came up with, like people appear to be your friend or close to you because the opportunity hasn't presented itself for them to show you otherwise. Like you might be cool with somebody for 2, 3 years and not really needed them or not really brought up an opportunity for them to show you like we really ain't that tight just because we go hoop together, just because we go, what I'm saying, we like some of the same things. It might be 3, 4 years before you call, and then people really like in friendship, people like to ignore too many red flags, like need them at a dire time or need them 3 in the morning or something, like you in some trouble. Or hey man, I got a flat tire. You think you can they'll come up with an excuse quick and then you just all right, bet, you know what I'm saying? But they keep showing you, I really ain't that cool with you. We just all right, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like my circle is really small. I'm not close with a lot of people. I'm cordial with some people. But the people who I call like, hey man, that's really my homie, that's my friend. I feel like I give them access to me. I ain't gonna, with boundaries or whatever, of course. But you call me and need me at 3 in the morning, I might be like, ah, dang, bro, all right, I'm on the way. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying? You need something from me, like, all right, bro,
Mhm.
I ain't really got it like this, but let's figure something out because we tight or whatever. And that's why I don't allow a lot of people in my circle. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody ain't gonna extend that out to you. So yeah, you got to keep that in
That's
mind
right.
about
And I
being
try to
quick to
tell them
call
too.
people your friend.
Yeah. And you have to watch a good way to determine whether people are good for you or not is if they can't respect the things that you can't do and they try to talk you into doing things that you know you shouldn't be doing, those aren't people you should be hanging around. You
Oh
telling
no, no
dudes,
doubt.
or dudes telling you rather, "Hey, let's stay out, go here," and you telling them, "Well, I'm not allowed to do blah blah blah," and then they tell, "Oh,
Hmm.
you soft," or
Right.
you ain't nothing." Da da da
Hmm.
da. Those ain't people you need to be hanging with anyway. I mean,
Right.
a lot of our youth know the difference between right or wrong, but they,
Oh
like you
yeah.
said, they allow that peer pressure to get to them, and that peer pressure comes in many forms. Like even the
Hmm.
something else I think we need to talk about when it comes to young men is it's okay, and this isn't going to be popular. What I'm about to say is not going to be popular, but I think they should know that it's okay to save yourself for somebody that's worth yourself. And that's a
Oh yeah.
hard thing to do when hormones are racing and your favorite artist might have on nothing but a bra and panties, or everything is so freaking sexualized. And
Hmm.
to this day we still have this idea as young men that sex is a part of what makes you a man.
Oh
But
yeah.
I look back on when I was that age, bro, and it's okay to say you don't know what you're doing. It's okay to
Hmm.
say you're afraid. It's okay to say you want to wait. But it's like when you're in that moment, sometimes that, and I tell people, temptation works out every day. Temptation is on steroids.
Okay.
It's strong. So your strength has to be stronger. Cause I remember when
Right.
I was the first time that I had consensual sex with a woman, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, I'm going off of Jodeci interludes and, sneaking
Yeah.
and watching Triple X movies and stuff like that. I wasn't ready for it, but I'll be darned if I was gonna tell her I wasn't ready for it, but
Right.
now as a grown man, I look back on it and I'm like, gosh, I would have loved to have had the courage to say, no, I don't really want to do that right now. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because I can remember from
Hmm.
a young age, I told myself, I said, when I grow up, I'm gonna be married, have all my kids with one woman. I wanted a big family, all that. It didn't work out that way, not because of anything outside of me. It's because I was battling with stuff inside and I couldn't tell myself I want to wait.
Right.
Or let me change that. I could have told myself that. I chose not to tell myself that.
Right. When
How did
when
those
when
how did you handle temptations and things like that at an early age?
uh like I said, I had like what Smokey said, he got mind control over over Depot. My mama had mind control over me. Certain things I knew that I couldn't go out and do. So I was like, man, I want to do this and do that. But the temptation, I felt like I wanted to be cool, but for the most part, I remained who I was. I would not try to do too much to be somebody else. Because my
Yeah,
definition of lame is being somebody who you're not. Regardless of what you like, what you're into,
yep,
be just that. I tell my boys that be whatever it is that makes you happy and you want to be, and that's be true to yourself, pretty much. But for the most
exactly.
part, I dealt with it pretty well. But I knew that as a boy, as a young man, hey man, you need to try to go get you something. So I was like, well, shoot, I don't know when that time gonna come, but that's what I need to be trying to do. You know what I'm saying? So, for the most part, I was
Yeah,
trying to make sure I was cool, but I wasn't too out there with it. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't too out there because I was always pretty
yeah,
mature for my age. And I was like, well, I ain't gotta be trying to do too much, but at the same time, I knew the stigma was, hey man, I'm a man, I need to be trying to get me something. So, I went with the crowd a little bit when it came to that, but I handled temptation okay. You know what I'm saying? I ain't let it drive
yeah.
me crazy.
I was I was horrible at it, and I'm a I'm gonna get into it a little bit in a second, but on the let me take this time to thank everybody that's watching on YouTube, Facebook, and everybody that's with me actually out there right now that wants to come in and say something. So I'm gonna let him up
All right.
real quick
If
here.
while you
Let's see
doing
what he
that,
has
I'm
to
gonna I'm gonna
say
throw my charge on.
before I get back to my early stages of what I was doing. How you doing, Doc?
You got my message? You got my message? I need a charge.
Yeah, yeah. Let me let me explain too. I'm live on YouTube and Facebook right now. And so that's why you guys on Wisdom can hear me, but you won't be able to hear. the full convo unless you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Yeah, but what do you have to add to this, doc? Yeah. Now, are you saying that the young ladies were asking you to get them pregnant? Oh wow. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. And I think it's very important, that you're saying you utilize that self control. Now, what would you say to the young guys between that are at those ages between 15 and 20 now that may be faced with some of those same pressures and stuff like that? What would you say is a good way for them to restrain and kind of think about what they want for their futures and their goals and stuff too, and not fall in some of those temptation traps? Listen well and think twice before you speak. That's some great advice. It definitely worked in your favor. And a lot of times, that's what we were talking about too. A lot of times we can hear things, but sometimes we don't choose to listen to the counsel that we're getting. And we're trying to kind of close that gap between the miscommunications from the youth and those that have been through some of these things. Hmm. Mm, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hmm. That's awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate you, Doc, and I hope some young man listens to that and kind of takes that to heart, because like you said, you have to hold ourselves accountable, and we have to have that restraint. And though it is hard to do even for adults, we know it's even harder for the youth, but in the long run, it helps. Mm, that's right. All right, I appreciate you. Bye bye. Well, we heard what the good doc said. I hope you guys could hear what he said. He said he was he had restraint. He listened to what his grandmother told him about stuff like that. And he said, Kev, he said there were young women asking him to get them pregnant. And some of the
At what
guys did
age?
it and he chose not to because of how he was brought up. You ever had at that young of an age a woman ask you to get her pregnant or a girl ask you to get her pregnant?
Nah, but they could have asked all they wanted to ask, but boy, no dice. It ain't no way I would have. I knew better than that though. So that was a no brainer
Man,
for me.
sometimes when I look back on a lot of situations I got into as a teenager, like mid to late teens, and I look at it now, I could have been in some crazy situations, and a lot of it came from um not being told certain things. A lot of it came from not really knowing me, not knowing myself, not practicing restraint. I didn't ever really follow any crowds, but that flesh is something serious, man. And that's why
Oh
I
yeah,
I can understand when I do speak to, young guys and stuff like that, and some of them will be straight up with me and tell me, you know, I don't know how to do that, uh, that sounds good, but blah blah blah. It's like I understand exactly where they coming from, and I try to tell them just because you're able to make a baby, it doesn't mean that you should make a baby.
right. Most definitely. And I tell young cats all the time, man. Listen, it's more than just walking through the mall and matching outfits, boy. When you have a kid, like it's tough raising a kid, especially at an
Yeah.
age where you're still being raised because yeah, it says that you're an adult at 18, but man, listen, you got a long ways to go from 18, especially as young men. Like you need to be somewhat established. You got to raise a whole human. You need to be somewhat established. And I talk to kids, young
Yeah.
men, and tell them how it is. Listen, you used to stuff getting sugar coated or people stroking you and hey, look, listen, if you do this, this is what it's gonna be, and it's gonna be hard. Like life can be very hard if you make it. So I shoot it to them straight, and a lot of them get it, but it's gonna take touching that stove to find out how hot it is. So a lot of them go on and they're gonna do them, but I can't touch them all. I can't save them all. So I try to tell them how it is, cause boy,
Yeah.
I lived it.
And
I've
it's
been there,
even
done that.
that part. And I try to tell them it's not even all the time what you can or can't do as the father. You better these cats better start realizing who they having kids with because
Yes.
you are tied to this person, for
Hmm.
the rest of your freaking life. And
Yeah.
so this spraying that seed all over the place and you barely know the women that you with and stuff like that, just because unfortunately a lot of our young men have this mentality of, hey, I can if you do get pregnant, I can just bounce. That's like the first thing they're thinking about. I ain't got to deal with it. You got to
Right.
deal with it. And so we even got to change that mindset. And Tammy said, be very careful who you are having children by. It can make you or break you, literally. That's
Hmm.
facts. It really
Yeah.
can. I can't tell you the amount of sleepless nights I've had over my lifetime, from dealing with a particular situation when it comes to that. We got Mr. Andrew Johnson on Wisdom wants to come up and speak on the topic too. So I'm going to let him up. Okay.
All right.
And I'm gonna try to hold this up, y'all, so y'all can hear it because I had some messages saying y'all couldn't really hear too well. How you doing, sir?
Good. Good evening, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing amazing.
Great. You know what you just said? You literally took the words out my mouth because you said, when you have a baby with somebody, you stuck with them forever.
Mm-hmm.
That the people have no idea what that means when you do that. You are stuck with them forever, and that is one thing that you're not thinking about in the moment, but when that child gets here, that's something you got to deal with. So that in and of itself should be a deterrent. Because you don't know how many people told me, this true story, man, how many people told me, yeah, I got a baby mama and she crazy. And I sit back and I just say to them, I said, well, she was crazy when you met her.
Yeah.
You just ignored it. You just ignored
Exactly.
it because, you wanted to get hit off.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got a lifetime consequence. And the flip side, too, is on the woman, too, because, a lot of women always, if you ever dated a single mother, a baby mama or something, you always you say, what's up with your dad? And they're like, oh, he ain't this, he ain't that, he's sorry, this, that, the other. I'm like, how'd you end up creating a baby if he had all this? It's like, it's really bizarre. When people explain their stories, and I'm just like, how did you then end up in a predicament when, you end up with this child by this dude who isn't even capable of taking care of you or the child? And so it goes both ways, but
Mm-hmm.
on the guy's point of things, one thing I can say, I can thank God that when, I first started in high school, I was the prototypical, I looked like the prototypical black nerd. I had glasses and wore braces. And not too many girls was checking me until I got to about 11th grade, thank God, because I dodged, some of them bullets, a couple other guys fell prey to.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a sign, I just got lucky. But that's one key thing to it. Well, I'm just going to share this really, really quick story, which is pertaining to, young men. We were talking about peer pressure and negative peer influences.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in New York, this goes way back to when I was in 6th grade. And I had a friend of mine who was in 8th grade. And he told these other two 8th graders, that I got a 6th grade kid. Me and him can beat you two in a 2-on-2 basketball game. And he said, we're going to bet you money. You know, the losers got to pay, you know, $5 to each person. So when he caught me after school, I was like, well, why are you telling that, man? We ain't going to win this game. We got 2 8th graders. I'm only in the 6th grade. This ain't going to work. But he used to peer pressure. I said, what we losers? You know, I ain't got no money. You know, when you're like 6th grade, you know, back then, you didn't have cash. You know, like, if you did, it was like $1 or $2, but you ain't had no money. So anyway, the peer pressure talked me into playing the game. So I played a basketball game against these 4. You got 2 other 8th graders. He's in the 8th grade and me in the 6th grade. Game's going back and forth. We're playing by 1, going to 15. We're up by 1 point. And then I get the ball at the top of the key. I take a lucky shot. If bank shots, it goes in. We win the game, 15-13. All the other kids all the other kids after school heard that we were playing for money, so everyone's watching. So I became somewhat of a little bit of a, you know, celebrity / hero type kid because I was the 6th grader that beat the 2 8th grader type things.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you that story just to say this. That story occurred when in New York we had a saying, we call it BC. And whenever we say BC, we just simply mean before crack.
Mm.
Well, once crack hit, the 2 8th graders that I played against, one of them started to sell it. This was only a couple years afterwards. One of them started to sell it, and the other one started to use it.
Mm.
The one that started to sell it, this is all true. He fell under the 3 strikes and you're outlaw. So he got 25 to life.
Wow.
The other one who started to use it, he had been using it off and on for years and years, like 20 years or so. And he's got Parkinson's disease, from what I was told. Because long-term crack use can lead to Parkinson's disease. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you use it especially if you used it in the 80s when it was more pure,
Yeah.
you know, it could lead to more side effects like that. The other 8th grader that I played in the game with, he had gotten to an argument / fight in a movie theater, and the police were trying to escort him out, and he refused to leave, and he was killed by the police, basically, and he was only like 21 years old. So I'm the only man out of that story that, you know, essentially was left standing. And I think part of it might have had to do with, you know, the guy I played with, he got a dad in the home, but I think it was just an unfortunate coincidence. But the other 2 did not. But I had a father at the home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might have, you know, helped as far as that negative peer influence is concerned. You know, like I stayed out the streets per se.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get caught up in a lot of stuff like those other guys did. And it's just one of those things where, you know, you got to have, like you were saying earlier, you got to have that strong, you know, fatherly connection, or even sometimes someone, even if it's not your dad, someone who's a mentor who can be in your life and kind of steer you away from them.
Exactly.
Some of that stuff. They may just say 1 or 2 little things.
Yep.
But that's all you need sometimes. You know, you don't need to, you know, the person doesn't always have to be harping over you or anything, but I think the presence of a father in the home is tremendous. And I think we need to stop overlooking that.
If you could,
You know, I think,
if you had 60 seconds to talk to a young man, let's say between the ages of 16 and 18, about the importance of finding out who he is and creating his own lane and not swimming in those negative pools that sometimes get laid out for him, what would you say to him?
Well, the first thing I would say to him is that don't worry about what people think about you right now. Because right now, at this age group, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. What people think about you right now isn't going to matter. The most important decade of your life, what I would tell them, is going to be when you get in your 20s. Because the decisions that you make in your 20s is going to shape and determine the rest of your life. You make good decisions, you're gonna have a good life. You make bad decisions, you're gonna have a bad life. It's literally that simple. That's the most important decade of a man's life, and it's the most important decade of a woman's life. But on the woman's side, it's more about relationships. So that's the first thing I would tell him. And the second thing I would tell him is to be the next thing he's got to be concerned with is 2 words. And these 2 words have taken down many African American men. And the word is self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't listen to what people. If you got a dream or you got something you want to try, go ahead and do it, and don't worry about what anybody's saying. If you fail, you just blame yourself. You get back up, you try it again. But don't not try. Just go out there and do it, and don't listen to what people got to say. That would be what I would tell them.
I 100% agree, and I thank you for coming up and giving those jewels that you gave, because it's on the same lines of what Kev and myself were talking about, and these are things that I hope the youth are listening to, because we are men that have been through a lot of these situations. We've seen certain things, we've done certain things, so a lot of the stuff we know what we would do differently. Uh, some stuff we know what we would do more of that we didn't. And so I'm hoping that a youth will get something from tonight's episode that can kind of make them think and make them do some things differently. And that's not to say that all of them are doing things that aren't good right now. Some of them may just need a little polishing and may just need a little fire lit up under them to continue to do what they're doing so they can be in a productive place. But I appreciate you, Andrew.
Absolutely. Thanks for letting me come on. I'll be listening in the background.
Okay, I appreciate you, brother. What you think about that, Kel?
I totally agree, man. Pretty much with whatever he was saying. And that little 60-second thing he said was true, man. I feel like as a child and before you turn 20, it's just really all, be a sponge. All you can soak up, all you can soak up. And fortunately, or unfortunately, most young men are not put in a predicament, even if they got a father in the home, man. Like, it's attentiveness. Like, your kid can be coming home every night and you not know what he's getting into. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you really, he's soaking up all he needs to learn, whether good or bad. But then, like he said, when you hit them 20s, you're really shaping up what your future is probably gonna be, if it's bad or good. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff you learn, like in your 20s, is time to put in effect. And just unfortunately, we have a lot of young men that don't have that. We have young men that don't have fathers in the home, and they just got to go out and get examples, which are mainly bad. And we even have some that do have fathers in the home that they might be chasing the bag, they might be, working too much and not really being attentive to what their child is going through. And that's unfortunate, but hey, I agree definitely with what he was saying, though. He dropped a lot of good points.
Yeah, something else I think that's important for um young men to know and try to practice is to have a lot more respect for these young ladies that they're attaching themselves to. A
Yeah.
lot of these and I won't go pre 15 years old. I'm gonna start at about 15 years old. From 15 to the age of 20, a lot of these things that we have told young girls, a lot of the actions we've shown them give them the idea that we're madly in love with them, that we're their forever person at 16 and 17 years old, and then we wonder why some of them crash out when they see you talking to somebody else, or when they see you at somebody else's locker, or when you're not calling them, or you treating them funny after they've given away their virginity to you and stuff like that. It's okay to be a gentleman. It's okay to court her, so to speak. It's okay to date her. It's okay to, you know, show her how she should be treated and not just try to get in her pants. But it's like, man, this mindset, and it's a tough thing to watch sometimes when you see kids, literally kids, 16 and 17 years old, guys cursing the girls out, or the girls think they gotta sleep with them in order for the boy to keep talking to them and stuff like that. What do you did you ever feel that kind of pressure when you were that age, Kel?
No, and I'm gonna tell you the sad thing about that is, in my opinion, one is that is what we do. You know, they say love is legs open very easy. You know what I'm saying? I can kind of make you feel a certain way just to get in your pants or whatever. And it ain't cool no more, especially with the music. You know what I'm saying? I heard a comedian say back in the day the music was I give you the sun, you know, the song or whatever. You know,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
type of song. Now you don't have it ain't cool to
Yeah,
be
love
a
song.
gentleman no more at all. And the sad thing about it
No,
is
yeah.
like putting it on some of the women, we're not raising the women up and I tell if I'm giving women advice, um, expect what you want, you know what I'm saying? Like you want to be treated like a woman,
Yeah.
you gotta expect that from a man. But women are not doing that no more because they feel like I gotta lower these standards or I gotta let a dude kind of do them because I want the bad guy, I want the bad boy, I want the one that's, you know what I'm saying, cool and popular, and I gotta expect he gonna treat me, you know, a certain way, and they roll with it. But I feel like if these women raise their standards, then the guys gotta jump on board. You know what I'm saying? But they're not. So guys, they can continue to act how they want to act. But it all comes full circle. There's a lot of negativity when it comes to it, but it's sad,
And
man. Like, mhm. Go ahead.
it is sad, and it's funny that you mentioned the way songs used to be and stuff like that, because I'm gonna tell you something real funny. When I first started uh like trying to talk to girls and stuff like that on my own, because I was very shy as a kid.
Mhm.
But at 16, 17 years old, some of the stuff that I would say to girls would be stuff that I heard, on the radio. Or at
Right.
that time, I just got introduced good to Jodeci
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So I recall sneaking on the phone as a freshman in high school, sneaking on the phone and calling this girl. And I would sing uh the lyrics from You and I to her on the phone. It's like those type things is what I was saying to girls. So when I look at now at what these cats probably saying to girls from what they hear in songs and stuff like that, I can understand why it's so overly sexualized and how everything is
Hmm.
about okay, who I can sleep with or how many people I can sleep with. And I feel so I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't feel bad for the young guys because I do. Because a lot of times it's you do what you see. You mimic what you see, especially if you
Oh
don't
yeah.
have that strong foundation. But I feel so bad for the young girls that are getting with some of these guys because they're every guy is not gonna say, "Oh, the only thing I want to do is sleep with you, girl. You give up your virginity, and then you ain't gonna hear from me no more. And the most sacred part of yourself will be gone because you can't get that back." Ain't nobody saying that. What they saying is
Right.
a lot of these girls are saying, "I don't want to do this. I'm scared." Blah blah blah, and these guys are saying stuff to make them feel comfortable. Oh well, I love you. I ain't going
Right.
nowhere. I mean, we gonna do it
Hmm.
one day, so why not now? These are some of the
Right.
things that they hear, and then the girls end up doing it, and then they get shamed for it.
Oh yeah.
And now
Hmm.
the guy running off and telling all his buddies he did it, and now they thinking you easy, so they gonna approach you a certain kind of way. And the
Hmm.
girl sitting there all confused, brokenhearted, and all of that. So the cycle just keeps going. And I don't think that we're going to change the world with this conversation. You know what I
Right.
mean? But it's
Hmm.
almost like Tupac said when he said he might not change the world, but he'll spark the brain that changed the world. I'm just
Hmm.
hoping that somebody takes something from this conversation and says that, okay, there's a better way that this can be done, because I didn't do everything right. I still don't do everything correct. But there are certain things that I know I won't trip over anymore. Because I mean, the goal is to, if you know better, to do better. And we don't
Right.
always get it right, but I think it behooves us to know certain things, and we may have gone through certain things, and we pass on those things to those coming up behind us.
Can you imagine though if
Who in
um could you imagine if women were being raised, young girls were being raised to raise their standards and keep them there? Meaning, no, I'm gonna let. If you want to court me, you want to be my boyfriend or whatever, walk me to class and all that. I'm good with that, but you're not. We're not having sex. You know what I'm saying? At that young of an age, at 16, 17, 18 or whatever. We're not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be pressured into what you offering me, telling me you love me so we can have sex. If most young girls were raised like that, these guys will be forced to, well, that ain't working. You know what I'm saying? I gotta, if I like her, I'm gonna have to do this, or it ain't going down that way. You know what I'm saying? But it ain't like that. These young women, these young girls are being neglected and letting society raise them as well. Letting music and our Cardi B is raising your daughter. If you let her, you know what I'm saying? Meg Thee Stallion is raising your daughter if you let her. And it's telling they're telling your
well,
daughter
let me ask you this,
like,
Gil.
mhm, go ahead.
Eh, Who's gonna, like, when you say if some of these young girls are raised up to have these standards? Now, I got a
Mhm,
couple questions for you. One, in that scenario, ideally, who's gonna raise these young girls up to feel that way?
should be parents in general, man. Should be just the village. You know what I'm saying?
Their
Should
mother or
be,
their father, right?
yes.
Yeah. Now let's say let's put it on the mom for the
Mhm,
sake of this conversation. If the
right.
mother didn't practice that herself because she
Mhm,
didn't know it and
right.
everything, where's the daughter going to get it from? Because we all know that grandparents aren't like they used to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
Grandparents, when we were coming up, were at home frying chicken, baking cakes and stuff like that, and the grandkids love to go over their house on the weekends and all summer. The grandparents of
Mhm,
today are in the clubs with the grandkids. They living their best
right.
life too. They twerking and
Yeah.
doggone going on cruises, and they're having
Yeah.
their house still got a groove back moments and stuff like that. So where are these young girls gonna get this direction at? Because most of their mothers, sadly, most of their mothers are going through their own situations following behind some man, or they're getting
Right.
heartbroken by some man,
Mhm,
lied to by some man, or something like that. Then they got to cut all that off and somehow try to raise up their daughters to be in better situations than they're in. So I
right.
think, and sometimes it's tough to say, but when you really look in that mirror, I think all of that starts with us. It starts with the
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Cause I tell some of the stuff, I don't say it in the same way, but I have conversations with my daughters too. I tell the ones that do tell me about guys they're dating and stuff like that, I'll listen to
Mhm,
it. They'll tell me, "Oh yeah, he said this and da 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 da," and I always ask them, well, what does he do?
mhm,
How does he treat you? Have you ever seen him mad? How does he act when he's upset? How does he act when he wants you to do something that you don't do? These are all the things that we have to try to open their eyes up to, because
right.
everybody is a prince in, shining armor when everything's going good.
Oh yeah.
When he happy, you ain't got no problems. But when Joker's, especially at that younger age, and even now, sometimes with the older age in men, but when they want something that you're not willing to give, whether it's going somewhere. So I think personally, if we are raising these young men up right, then it's really not gonna matter what the girl respect for himself to where he's gonna walk different. Now, because I used to say that all the time too. If well, gosh, if some of these women will stop giving these what they call them Pookie and Ray Rays the time of day, then Pookie and Ray
Hmm.
Ray will become extinct.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if what they're doing isn't working, then they gonna switch the game up. But guess what?
Yeah.
When the man switched the game up, he only switching it up because what's trying to work with the woman ain't working, which means
Hmm.
he gonna put another mask on.
Right.
But if we can catch them young enough to where we can change that interior, we can change the inside, then she gonna get that genuine man every time. They gonna get that authentic person. Because a lot of women might not like this, but I know they say that they're good at spotting BS and all that kind of stuff, but the math ain't mathing on that. Because if you that good at it, some things won't keep happening.
Yeah.
You can't tell me you good at spotting a clown and every person you get with is a clown.
Right. Are you good at being with a clown?
These Yeah, man, something ain't right. And then you got these young men and even adult men calling themselves kings but acting like peasants.
Yeah. Oh, wise man once told me, man, you can make your mouth fried chicken. So a lot of people say a lot of stuff, but I go off them actions. You can tell me whatever you want. I'm going off them actions. So yeah.
You right about that. And something else they need to know too is I tell young guys this all the time. These streets do not love you. They
Oh
don't.
no.
The streets
No.
like you for a moment, but they do
Hmm.
not love you.
No,
And
not
though
at
that
all.
gets said and it even gets shown, this gang life is growing more and more every year.
Yeah. It's like it's the popular thing to do. So, like I said, boy, society out to get them kids. Life will chew you up and spit you out. So, and unfortunately, a lot of youngsters learn the hard way.
Yeah, yeah, they do. And I think we've you got something else you want to say to these young bulls, Kev, because they what I have found out too. I know how it is with adults, but it's especially that way with the youngsters. The attention span is as quick as a cricket can snap its fingers if it had fingers to
Right,
snap. So we ain't gonna
right,
quote unquote preach to them too much. There were some things we wanted to address. We specifically wanted to talk to the young men because we were extremely young once. We've done some foolish things, and I know I have. Let me talk about me because I'm throwing Kev in this boat. He might have not even done foolish things
right,
like I did, but I've done some foolish things in my lifetime. And if I could go back, there are a lot of things that I would do differently. But sons now, I have daughters, I have nephews, you know what I mean? I have cousins. And even more so than that, I'm constantly in the presence of young people. And some of the things that I see breaks my heart. It makes me sad because I know, the lanes they can take to have productive lives. I know where some of those actions are going to get them. And I can't just sit back and not say anything. So this is just a, you know, hour long episode thus far that we're talking about this, but I've said things, off camera to a lot of these youngsters, and a lot of them listen, or at least let me think they're listening. And some of them tell you straight up, I ain't trying to hear that. You know what I
right.
mean? So I ain't gonna beat their ears bloody with what we got to say tonight. But Any last remarks for the youngsters? Yeah.
Man, I'd say just be yourself. Whatever it is you think makes you blossom and bloom, be yourself. Don't fall for what's trapping a bunch of people up. Don't walk into the Venus flytrap because I promise you that's what it is. Be yourself. Enjoy your youth without getting in any trouble. I tell my young boys all the time, don't get in no trouble, which sometimes is hard to do. Enjoy yourself, but don't get in no trouble and don't have no babies. Everything else gonna fall in place. Everything else gonna come with age. You're gonna get wiser, you're gonna learn from some people who mean well, and you're gonna be able to differentiate the BS from the wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So just don't get in no trouble, don't have no babies while you're young, enjoy yourself, and then as you grow up, you'll begin to know what it is you want to do in life, the things you want to accomplish. If you're a family person, you know, the babies and stuff, they'll come later, but just be wise, man, and everything else gonna come with time. So that's what I'll tell them in a nutshell.
Most definitely, and that's some great advice too. And I think it's good for them to also to don't run away from your talents, young man. Don't run away from your
Mhm.
dreams. Don't run away from your gifts. You know, keep doing that thing that's burning inside of you. That passion that you have, study it. Study those things. Learn a trade. You know what I mean? Pick up a book. A lot of times you have to look at what you spend most of your time. If you spend most of your time gaming, then guess what? Learn some coding.
Right.
Create your own games. Do things like that. Capitalize on these things that are given to you by God. Center yourself. Pray more. Think about your future more. Because I've seen that a lot. You know, a lot of times people aren't thinking past today.
Mhm.
And that's why they aren't setting themselves up for success. But you can do it. You can do it. Just believe in yourself. Think positive thoughts. Stay away from the negative things in life as best you can. Protect yourself and protect those around you. Um, this was Smooth Saturdays, y'all. I know it wasn't the typical smooth Saturday that you're used to, but I hope you guys got something out of it. We'll be back next Saturday at 9 o'clock. King Shit Talk will be back next Thursday around 8:30 ish. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, King Shit Productions. Thank you guys on Facebook for watching. Thank everybody on YouTube. I thank my Wisdom app listeners. And again, we have attempted to bridge the gap between men and women to help men understand women better, to help women understand men better, and to build a solid foundation for our youth so that they can be better people coming up after us. I appreciate you all. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll holler at y'all next week. Appreciate you, Kev. Have a good one, brother.
Peace, man. See you next week.
Yes, sir.